Steve. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
Thank you, George. I'm good.
Man, I'm excited to talk about Sketch. You're the producer behind this film. What an incredible film. I love it. Man, I want to dive into kind of the synopsis of this, but before that, I wanted to kind of give a little bit of background for my listeners and viewers here. Will you tell us a little bit about kind of how you got involved making movies and kind of being in the industry, and then we'll kind of jump into Sketch there a little bit.
Yes, I grew up in Denver and went to Colorado University at Boulder, and I was a music major, but they had a fledgling film program. And so I signed up for classes because I wanted to learn how to make movies. I didn't realize at the time that it was all avant-garde filmmaking, like you actually weren't allowed to tell stories in this project, in this school. And in fact, the South Park guys went to that same program a couple of years later. They dropped out after a year and a half. But Stan, their character, is named after the guru of our program, Stan Brakhage. So I thought it'd be better to be a musician in my 20s than a filmmaker in my 50s than the reverse, always thinking ahead. But I kept one foot in filmmaking and ended up making music videos for my own albums and then music videos for other projects, and then did some documentaries and some short form pieces, and then switched over to filmmaking in the early part of this millennium, and I've directed a couple movies and produced a couple others. But the very first movie that I made, we needed a location, and I needed a mega church location. I'm in Nashville now. I've lived here for 35 years, and the Christian singing star Michael W. Smith was the lead. He played a associate pastor at a big mega church, and he gets sent down to work with the black pastor of their kind of sister church in the inner city who doesn't want him there. And it all starts because they invite the black pastor to speak to the megachurch audience, and the black pastor is making an appeal, and he just realized nobody's listening to what he's saying. And so in kind of disgust, he takes the pledge card and tosses it into the audience and says, you know what? Just keep your damn money. And because we needed him to say a mild swear word, it was not going to be easy to find a megachurch. But the music pastor at that church said, hey, I love Michael W. Smith. I'll make this happen. And he worked it out. And at the end, he said, my son is a filmmaker. Would you mind taking a look at his DVD? And his son was 19 years old, and I had very low expectations. And sure enough, it was fantastic. And his son's name is Seth Worley. That began a collaboration that we did over the next 20 years, where he did second unit on my movies, and he would have me act in some of his short films, and did a music video for my band, and did some promos. So about 8 years ago, he sent me the first act of the first draft of a script that he was working on. Wanted to know what I thought. I thought it was fantastic. I gave him a minimum, a few notes, and then he went to work on it and ended up moving his family to LA to try to get this movie made. And he met Tony Hale, who's the beloved star of Arrested Development and Veep and Forky and Toy Story 4. And they got on really well, and Tony kind of helped him with some of the nature of who this dad character would be in the movie. And they took it out to Hollywood studios. They got a big time producer involved who was into it, and they took it out to try to get funding. And it was expensive at that point, and no studio was interested. So they retooled it, and they got a different producer, and they took it out again, and no studio was interested. So Seth got discouraged, understandably. He decided to move back to Tennessee with his family. And I was working on another project that was going to be shot in Taiwan. And before I left, I got with Seth just to see what was up. And I asked him what was going on with Sketch. And he said, it's dead. And I'm like, no, this movie's too good. He said, no, nobody wants it. I said, well, give me the script. So I read the new script. And when I got back, I said, we can make this movie, but we got to be scrappy. We can't wait for permission. We just got to figure out a way to make it and using the tools that we have. And Seth is a world-class VFX artist, as well as being a great writer and director. So he was like, okay, if you can find the money, sure. And I'm terrible at raising money. And then in 2 weeks, I had two different people who were ready to put up the money. And one of them, John Irwin, is also a filmmaker based out of Nashville. And he said, I want to do this. So he gave us the money. Seth got final cut, which is really hard to get for a first-time director. And here we are.
Wow. 8 years in the works since you first saw the first sketch of Sketch. I mean,
That's right.
it's an amazing movie. I was going to ask about the special effects because there are a lot, but I think before we kind of dive into those things too, why don't we go ahead and just give a little synopsis? Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the movie if they haven't seen a trailer yet?
Yes. So it's a family movie, and we're really proud of that. And it's really made for everybody. It might be a little bit scary for little kids, but you saw it. So,
Hmm.
but it's really fun and funny, and just also a really great theme. But it opens with this little girl, 10-year-old Amber, and we can tell that she's troubled. And her dad takes her to a counselor, and we find out why. It's because her mom uh, has died 6 months earlier, and she's having a hard time with it. And so the counselor finds out that Amber likes to draw. So the counselor gives her a sketchbook and says, I want you to put all your feelings inside this sketchbook. And Amber goes to town and starts putting her true feelings into the sketchbook by drawing a bunch of comically horrific monsters. And then, of course, the monsters end up coming alive and terrorizing everybody. And we kind of call it, it's kind of a cross between Inside Out and Jurassic Park. And that's a pretty good description.
It is. No, I like that. I mean, and there's a lot of things here that are family themes that run throughout. It's entertaining, educational, and so it's like it really kind of talks about this journey of trying to find healing, right? I mean, there's a lot of
Right.
different big things that y'all are tackling as far as topics and emotions and kind of the transition of going through a loss. And there's a lot of like kind of that therapy of doing the sketch. But of course, man, once they come alive, it's a whole nother type of movie. I mean, it's like kind of a little
Right.
children's horror movie in a sense, but it is, I think it is family, friendly in that as well. I mean, our kiddo loved it. We're glued to the TV. I know it's about to drop and it's going to be in theaters. Are you guys doing anything for the opening? Are you all going to be going out anywhere and kind of dropping
Yes.
that? Is that going to be in Nashville?
So in Nashville, we did a kind of soft premiere
Mhm.
with for the cast and crew, and even the mayor came out for it because I think it's the biggest movie to come out of Nashville since Robert Altman's Nashville 50 years ago.
Yep.
And so that was a lot of fun. But the big premiere was in LA last week, and man, Angel Studios, they just did it up like no studio would have done it. There were two of the monsters. They created one of the monsters. You remember the blind one is like a 20-foot tall blind monster.
Uh-huh.
And they created that in an inflatable. So you got a 20-foot tall blind one there. You've got the tattler, which is the one that, squeaks and makes all the noise to tell the blind one where to come. And that was there. They had, of course, red carpets. They had menu themed with the movie. They had they bought out all 9 theaters so that there was like 1,300 people coming. And of course, Tony has so many celebrity friends. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus was there, Elaine from,
Yep.
Seinfeld
Yep.
and Veep, and a number of other celebrities, Terry Crews, and they all just had a great time. And the movie just got great response. And, I can say it's a good movie because it's actually one of the rarest of all films. It actually has 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which doesn't happen very often.
No, that is rare. I mean, this movie's got it all for everyone. I think it is phenomenal. I can't wait for people to go check it out. What are you hoping that people leave as they're walking out the experience of this movie? I'm not, giving any spoilers there, but as far as, what do you hope that people connect to within this film?
Yes. One of the things that Amber says early on that she tells the counselor is she says, my dad says you can't control your inbox, but you can control your outbox. And so that's a theme that runs through the movie. And then we see both her dad and her brother and herself all trying to deal with their grief in different ways. And we realize that Amber's is the most healthy because she's trying to put it somewhere where it can't hurt anybody, right? And so the ending scene, of course, is very emotional and beautiful, and it's just one of those movies that kind of has it all.
No, I wanted to speak to that, but again, I don't want to do any spoilers. But no, that it is, man, it's a heartwarming movie. But I think that transition too of, what it's like to be a father and have that difficulty of raising children without your wife, and there's a lot of things there too. And a lot of people stuff down those emotions and feelings, and you see everyone deal with that in a different way, and you see people kind of come throughout the other side at the end, and such a beautiful way. As far as your, connection there as far as being a dad and then, putting this together and that being a centralized theme of, with Tony's character. How did you connect with that? And what were some things that, maybe kind of drew you into the movie that made you want to be a part of it, aside from just, the amazing job Steph did of writing this?
Well, Seth's got three kids, and Tony's got a daughter, and I've got a daughter. So we all share the sense of what it's like being a dad, and particularly what it's like being a dad to a girl. And so, and all of us, I think, as dads, we have boys figured out better than we do girls. And so, for it's particularly poignant because when Tony's character lost his wife, he is kind of navigating blind, especially when it comes to his daughter. And he's trying to figure out the stuff that, what would his wife do in these situations? He's just trying to do the best he can, but he just doesn't have all the tools. And it's one of the things I loved about what Tony brought to the role is, we're used to seeing him in kind of goofy roles, but this is a really heartfelt, deep role. And he was very adamant that sometimes, in a scene would have what we call a button where it ends with a joke, and he was like, "No, I wouldn't say a joke when I was in this situation. I want this to be grounded in reality," and the movie's better because of it.
No, I think that's true. We obviously see him as these other characters that is kind of a funny, goofy guy, and especially
Right.
Arrested Development. I think it's when people first got a good glimpse of him. But this is a serious role, and I think it shows his kind of breadth of talent and
Mm.
emotional ability. No, it's phenomenal. Is there anything that you want to say to viewers who are about to go out this weekend and see it for the first time? Is there anything that you'd like to give to those who have been supporting this movie and this cast for
Yes. Well, one of the things I love about what Angel's done is they've taken the movie, taken it seriously, and are taken out to a really wide audience. And they're actually putting it out internationally around the world. It's going to be in theaters. Um, but if this succeeds, it would be the first live action family movie that's not based on existing IP, that's not a sequel or a remake or something like that. Man, I think since like Home Alone. So the odds are not in our favor because it's an original movie. And we all say we want to see original movies instead of sequels and remakes, but box office results typically do not bear that out. So we're hoping that people go out and support this original movie from a really original writer director.
That's so true. And I do want to ask with the filming aspect of this, man, you've got live animation. There is, again, don't want to give too much away, but there are some scenes where there's a lot of action and live action roles, but then you also have all these animation stuff. Was there any challenges that you guys faced while making this movie, or was that difficult for some of these actors? Obviously, you got a lot of young actors there too who may
Right.
not have had a ton of experience in that realm. So I was kind of curious about that and what that was like for them.
Yes, our young actors were fantastic, and when you cast young actors, you're not only casting them, you're also casting their parents because they're
Sure.
around all the time,
Uh-huh.
and we had great parents as well. But the filming couldn't have gone smoother. Seth actually edited the movie, which is unusual, and he finished it on time and under budget. And then we got to the VFX, and one of the reasons that I felt we could do it for as low a price as we did is because Seth is a VFX wizard, right? He hosts a VFX podcast. He's done all this for 20 years. Um, and for whatever reason, when we got to the VFX, he just started second guessing a lot of things that he was doing, and it took a really long time. So the VFX, I thought we were going to be done in about 3 months. It took about a year and a half to get it right. And we ended up finally getting it right and nailing all the monsters. But it was hard because each monster is built based on her drawings, and she draws them with different tools. So some monsters are drawn with Sharpies, some are drawn with crayons, some are drawn with chalk. And so each monster has to get taken care of based on what they're made of. So if it's made of watercolor monsters, of markers, you got to get it in water. If it's based on chalk, if you step on it, it's going to dissipate into a cloud of dust. And so that was part of the challenge too, is each monster had to be different.
I think it's an amazing job. The effects are just second to none there. Y'all really did a bang out job on this movie. For those who may want to follow, what you've got going on. I mean, you filmmaker in residence over at Lipscomb University. There's all sorts of different things you've got involved in your music, your past projects. Do you have a site or a place that we can go ahead and follow you online where I can kind of direct some folks there too?
Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Steve Taylor, and The Perfect Foil is the name of my band. And then Lipscomb University is where I'm a filmmaker in residence, and it's here in Nashville, and it's got a really great film program. And in fact, we had a lot of film students work on this as production assistants, and they also made it possible for me to produce another animated series from the co-creator of VeggieTales, Mike Naraki. It's called The Dead Sea Squirrels. It's streaming on Minnow right now, and it's out. And Seth Worley, our writer-director, actually wrote a number of those episodes as well. So you'll see the same kind of humor in The Dead Sea Squirrels.
That's awesome. Is there any other projects coming up you'd like to go ahead and plug?
We've always got new projects working on. We're already working on season 2 of The Dead Sea Squirrels, and then I've got another political comedy that I wrote with Seth that I'm hoping to get made. It was looking really close, and then the pandemic hit, and then I haven't had any time to get to it. So I'm hoping that that'll be the next one out, but we'll see.
I know that put a big pause on a lot of different productions. Well, listen, I can't wait. Next thing you have, that you're going to, bring into the world, let me know. I'll have you back on and discuss it. And thank you so much, Steve. Wonderful job in this film. Everyone go check it out. It is in theaters August 6th, everywhere, all internationally. So go see this movie and leave some comments below with your thoughts on it. Once again, Steve, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, George.
Cheers.